It's only been a few months since the Japanese duo YOASOBI has put out one of their newest songs, Idol. And I heard this for the first time recently and was immediately like, whoa, okay, hold on. I gotta take a look at this because there's some really cool stuff going on. Let's check it out. Okay, so we haven't really established any harmony yet. We're just kind of going. And the second time it goes, kind of it. All right, so we've now established A flat minor as our sort of home base here. Ah, okay, very simple. We have this and then we go. That's it. So it's kind of like in a minor key, this is like flat, well, no, this is the root. A flat minor, and then the flat 6 chord, which we've talked about before, is very commonly used in anime, which is, in this case, E major, and then it just drops to the 5. So it drops down a half step from the flat 6 to the 5 chord, which is E flat. Okay, this is super cool. I always love how so much anime uses very complex harmony, but it does it in a way that's applied to a style that feels like it shouldn't have complex harmony like that, but then it does, and you're just like, where did this come from? Now, really, in its essence, all that's happening here is sort of a descending bass line. We have, but when we move that bass note, it changes the functionality of the chord. So we have A flat minor. Now, what would you look at this as? I mean, what I'm literally playing right now is a G major augmented chord. We could say that's it. B major over its 5. This chord would basically be an F half diminished or an F minor 7 flat 5. So we just have that. And does it go to the E there? Yep. At the end, it's hard to hear exactly what's going on, but I think it's like, it just goes down, 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 to the E major. That's a nice chord change right there. Now we get into, I guess what you might call our thematic, like our main melody of the song. And I actually wrote this out because I was fascinated by it, so. Whoa! Okay, this is just super cool. There's so much stuff going on in here. Take a look. So we have beautiful melody, right? And it's delivered very quickly, so we almost don't even have too much of a chance to sit on it and experience the melody for what it is, but it's gorgeous. Listen. That is so beautiful. Then it goes. We have this really clever thing that I find it used in anime all the time. These 2 5s to the 4. Or in a minor context, it's like a 2 5 to the flat 6. Instead of actually going to that 4, we go down to D flat minor. Very similar sound to E major because they are relatives of each other, right? The relative minor of E is D flat or C sharp minor, and vice versa, right? And this brings us back, our 5 chord, 2. And then we do our quick 2 5. This time we do let it resolve to that 4. Nice. I'm just always really impressed by the usage of harmony that is a little bit more complex, especially in kind of a pop context. But pop music and music that you'll find used in anime a lot, written by Japanese artists and composers, they do not shy away from this complex harmony at all. And it's just so cool to see. Okay, that is very similar, but now what we've done is we've just taken our home base of A flat minor and we've just moved it up. So we've modulated up a half step. That's very typical modulation when you want to start moving the momentum in an upward direction. You want to give it more energy, you want to build it up, and that's exactly what we see done here. I mean, everything including the instrumentation, the pacing, the volume, all of it kind of comes up that little level once we open up and modulate up a half step. We see a lot of similar chord changes as we did in our first section. I wrote it as like just a shifting bass note because I don't yet hear that definitive 2-5 to the 4 thing that we were talking about before, or 2-5 to the flat 6, right? That's what we would expect to hear there, but I'm not yet hearing it. There it is. That is so cool. So in this next section, it's a lot more clear. Let's take a look at how that melody works into these chords. We start with F major 7. That's the same sequence as the section before. Same thing. Now watch this. That is super cool, okay? And what we're doing there is we're taking our A minor chord and we're walking our bass line down to that 2, 5, 1, right? And again, it happens so fast, it's like almost even hard to pick up on, but it just adds that little drop of color that sticks out and creates this really interesting motion to move from one section to the next. And then at the end, we have what you might call in Baroque music a Picardy third, right? Where you're expecting a resolution to the minor chord, like we've been doing the whole time, but instead all we do is we just make it major. And it creates this like, whoa, okay, where did that come from? That's this new, bright, hopeful sound that we haven't had yet. And that's the perfect wrap up for this section. Moving into halftime. Back to this kind of like rap thing, but the rap is done in major thirds. The vocal is repeated, but down a major third, and it creates this kind of like demonic sort of sound to it. And it sounds really, really cool. Right back to that section. A new melody section with the same chord changes. Now back to another sort of halftime section, but this time we're slowing it down. We have another rap section. And you'll notice here we're using that same that we introduced in the very beginning. Right? Only now we open it up. With a little just interlude in between there to separate these sections. Before we start into our next melodic section. Nice, we get to hear the harmony with the piano here. Wait a second, hold on. What are we doing? All right, look at this. This is nuts. This is so cool. All right, so we start this section and we're still in the same key. We're still in A minor, realistically, right? So we can really hear this 2-5 illustrated quite well, which normally would take us to F major, but again, we go back to D minor 7 in this case. And here, we set up that same progression as we've been using, only now we do this. Watch this. What? You gotta be kidding me. All right, so here's what we're doing. We modulated again, we changed key again, but instead of going up, remember how we talked about we went up a half step in the beginning? We started in A flat minor, we went to A minor, and that upward motion is what helps create this like opening up of it builds up the energy, it kind of gives us the next place to go, right? This goes down a half step. It's a very unusual direction to change key because kind of the opposite of everything we just said about key changes. So here, we're just like going back to where we started. But yes, that's exactly what happens. By moving down a half step, we end up back at the beginning of the tune. It's such a cool key change, and it's very unexpected because it kind of just drops out of nowhere. There's no setup. Remember how we've talked about on this channel that you can kind of set up any key change you want if you just like throw a 5 in front of it. But if you purposefully don't throw anything in front of it, it kind of just lets it drop out of nowhere, and you're like, whoa, where did that come from? That's what's happening here. Listen again. And then we change key again. Okay. Oh, sorry. Hang on. Okay. So I want you to take a look at every place that we just went to. Okay, so we started that section, we started in A minor because we went right, so we're in A minor, and then we go down. And at the end of that section, what do? We go up a whole step. Watch this. There's our 2-5. So this whole song is really, really cool because we're utilizing almost the same chord progression throughout the whole thing, but we derive our building process, we derive a lot of our motion, our journey with key changes. And the key changes, at first, we think they're just gonna be pretty conventional. We just go up a half step, right? That's pretty normal. But then we go down a half step to give you a moment of like, oh, wait, what's going on here? And notice what's happening during that drop. When we drop the half step, check it out. This is the low point of the song, right? It's just voice and piano. And so it almost feels like this is sort of our lull, our moment of breath. We're like, okay, let's relax for a second. And when the harmony goes downwards in that direction, it really emphasizes that because it's setting us up for this. Now we're going somewhere totally new. We haven't been here yet. And then the rest of the song kind of takes us out in that chord progression. I mean, how cool is that usage of harmony to move us around and create different momentum, helping us either build and grow or like pull back and kind of relax for a second or introduce something new entirely. I mean, it's something as simple as a key change, but the direction and distance of those key changes makes all the difference in the world. This is just such a brilliantly written song. And it's no surprise to me that this thing is closing in on 300 million views. This is the first thing that I've heard from YOASOBI, and I am a fan. This is super cool. And just before we go, I want to remind you that my brand new book, Jazz Piano Improv Volume 1, is currently available. There's a link in the description below. And guys, that's how I've chosen to support this channel. I mean, you may notice I don't really take sponsorships from outside companies here, and that's kind of because I just wanted to create something directly from me, directly for you, so that if you want to support the channel and you want to get something super useful that you can use in your musical journey, you have that opportunity to do so, rather than me promoting some random company that's not really related to either of us. It wound up being over 200 pages. I don't know how that happened. I kind of got carried away, I guess. So it's a 200+ page ebook complete with backing tracks for everything that you're going to learn in that book. I took 10 standard jazz chord progressions and I wrote 5 choruses of improvisation on each of them. And each of the choruses gets progressively a little more difficult and starts exploring a new concept. And for each of those 10 chord progressions, there is a backing track. And I made them in a bunch of different ways depending on what you want to use. There's versions that have with a little bit of piano accompaniment from me, so you can play just the right hand. Then there's ones that have just bass and drums, if you want to take care of all the playing on your own. And then I also did one that has like a little light electric piano Rhodes accompaniment in case you want to hear some chords, but you don't want another piano sound to get in your way. And on top of all that, there is of course a reference track where you can hear the full solo played through, so you can learn it that way as well. I've been working on this super hard and I'm super proud of it, and I hope you guys are gonna enjoy it. It's currently 50% off, it's less than 20 bucks. I wanted to create something that can help support the channel, but also give all of you a way to pick up something useful from me that hopefully doesn't break the bank. And so if that's something that you're interested in, please take a moment, check out the link in the description below. Go check out Jazz Piano Improv Volume 1. And whether or not you choose to do that, I'm just super happy that you're here watching my videos. I really do appreciate it. So thank you so much for being here. Anyways, that's it. I'll see you in the next video.